What if the quality that makes a man truly attractive has almost nothing to do with his face, his money, his muscles, or the way he tries to impress people? What if the thing women notice most is something much quieter, something you cannot buy, something you cannot fake for very long, something that becomes visible only when life becomes difficult? Most men spend years trying to become attractive by adding more money, more status, more attention, more possessions, more muscles, more achievements. They believe attraction comes from proving their value to others. But there is a deeper kind of strength, the kind of strength that does not need to announce itself. A man who is comfortable with himself does not constantly seek approval. He does not need everyone to understand him. He does not chase every person who walks away. He does not lose control when someone disagrees with him, and he does not allow rejection, criticism, or temporary failure to determine his worth. This is something many men completely ignore. Inner stability is attractive. Think about it. When a man is desperate to be liked, people can feel it. When he constantly seeks validation, people notice. When his mood depends entirely on how someone treats him, his confidence becomes fragile. But when a man can remain calm without becoming cold, confident without becoming arrogant, and caring without becoming needy, something changes. His presence changes. He becomes grounded, and being grounded means that you are not controlled by every emotion that enters your mind. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can experience rejection without believing that you are worthless. You can experience success without becoming arrogant. You can love someone without losing yourself. This is the kind of strength that comes from discipline. And discipline is not simply waking up early or going to the gym. True discipline is learning to govern yourself when nobody is watching. It is choosing silence when your ego wants to argue. It is choosing patience when your emotions demand an immediate reaction. It is continuing your path when nobody is applauding. It is becoming so secure within yourself that you no longer need to convince everyone that you are valuable. That is where real confidence begins. And perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about attraction is this: you become more attractive when you stop making attraction your primary goal. Instead of asking, "How can I make her like me?" ask yourself, "What kind of man am I becoming?" Instead of asking, "How can I get her attention?" ask, "Am I becoming someone worthy of respect, even when nobody is watching?" Instead of chasing external validation, build internal value. Train your body, strengthen your mind, control your reactions, keep your promises to yourself. Learn to sit alone without feeling lonely. Learn to walk away from what destroys your peace. Learn to speak with purpose and listen with attention. Because when a man develops this inner foundation, he no longer enters relationships from desperation. He enters from choice. And there is a profound difference between needing someone and choosing someone. One comes from emptiness, the other comes from abundance. So if you have spent your life believing that becoming attractive means becoming louder, richer, stronger, or more impressive, pause for a moment. There may be another path, a quieter path, a deeper path, the path of mastering yourself. Because before a man can lead his life, he must first learn to lead his own mind. And before he can command respect from the world, he must learn to respect himself. Today, we are going to explore the quality that most men overlook. The quality that cannot be manufactured through appearance, money, or empty confidence. The quality of inner strength, emotional discipline, and calm self-respect. Because sometimes the most powerful man in the room is not the man demanding attention. It is the man who does not need it. The strongest kind of confidence is often the quietest. It does not enter a room demanding attention. It does not need to prove that it is stronger, smarter, richer, or more important than everyone else. It simply exists. A man who is truly confident does not spend every moment asking himself, do they like me? Do they respect me? Do they think I am attractive? He has learned something deeper. His value cannot depend entirely on the opinions of other people. And this is one of the qualities that can make a person naturally compelling, not because he is trying to attract attention, but because he is no longer controlled by the need for it. Many men misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means speaking loudly, dominating conversations, showing off achievements, having the best clothes, driving an expensive car, or constantly displaying strength. But these things can exist without confidence. A person can look powerful on the outside while being deeply insecure on the inside. He may constantly compare himself with other men. He may become jealous when someone receives more attention. He may become angry when someone challenges him. He may need compliments to feel valuable. And when the attention disappears, his confidence disappears with it. Real confidence is different. Real confidence is being able to stand alone without feeling incomplete. It is being able to enter a room without needing everyone to notice you. It is being able to hear criticism without immediately becoming defensive. It is being able to experience rejection without allowing it to destroy your self-respect. It is being able to say, "I was wrong," without feeling that your entire identity has been attacked. And most importantly, it is knowing who you are even when nobody is applauding. Imagine two men walking into the same room. One constantly looks around to see who is watching him. He changes his personality depending on who is present. If someone attractive enters the room, he immediately tries to impress her. He talks more, exaggerates his achievements, and searches for signs of approval. His attention is not really on the conversation. His mind is focused on one question: how am I being perceived? The second man is different. He does not ignore people, and he is not arrogant. He simply feels comfortable in his own skin. He can speak naturally. He can listen. He can laugh at himself. He does not feel the need to perform. If someone likes him, wonderful. If someone does not, he continues living his life. Which man appears more secure? The answer is obvious. Because confidence is not about convincing other people that you are valuable. It is about no longer needing constant evidence that you are. This does not mean becoming emotionally distant or pretending that you do not care about anyone. In fact, genuine confidence allows a man to care more deeply because he is not constantly afraid of losing approval. He can express affection without becoming desperate. He can show vulnerability without feeling weak. He can listen without preparing a performance. He can love someone without making that person responsible for his entire happiness. There is enormous strength in being able to say, "I want you in my life, but I will not lose myself trying to keep you." That mindset changes everything. When you stop chasing validation, your behavior becomes more natural. You stop sending messages simply because you are afraid of being forgotten. You stop trying to make someone jealous just to prove that you are desirable. You stop pretending to be someone you are not. You stop measuring your worth by the number of people who want you. Instead, you begin building a life that has value even when nobody is watching. You develop your skills. You take care of your body. You strengthen your mind. You work toward meaningful goals. You become more disciplined. You learn to enjoy your own company. You become someone you can trust. And slowly something changes inside you. You no longer walk into relationships asking, "What can this person give me?" You begin asking, "What can we build together?" That is maturity. A man who constantly seeks validation is controlled by the outside world. A man who develops inner stability begins to control his own direction. His mood is no longer determined by every compliment or criticism. His identity is no longer dependent on whether someone chooses him. He chooses himself first. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that recognizes personal responsibility. And this is where calm confidence becomes powerful. You do not have to prove that you are the strongest man in the room. You do not have to win every argument. You do not have to respond to every insult. You do not have to chase every opportunity for approval. Sometimes strength is simply remaining composed. Sometimes confidence is allowing silence to exist. Sometimes maturity is walking away from an argument that your ego desperately wants to win. The man who understands this begins to develop a different kind of presence. He is not necessarily the loudest person. He may not even be the most physically impressive person. But there is something settled about him. His words have weight because he does not speak merely to be noticed. His actions have meaning because he is not constantly performing for an audience. And remember this, you cannot build lasting confidence by pretending to be confident. You build it by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and actually do it, you strengthen your trust in yourself. Every time you resist an impulse that would take you away from your values, you strengthen your character. Every time you face discomfort instead of escaping it, you become more resilient. Every time you accept rejection without abandoning your dignity, you become stronger. This is how confidence is built, not overnight, not through a motivational quote, and not through pretending to be someone else. It is built quietly, through thousands of small decisions, and eventually you stop asking the world to tell you who you are. You already know. Emotional control is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. Many people think being emotionally strong means never getting angry, never feeling jealous, never becoming hurt, or never showing vulnerability. But that is not emotional control. That is emotional suppression. Real emotional strength means you can experience powerful emotions without allowing those emotions to take control of your decisions, your words, and your behavior. Every man will experience moments when his emotions become intense. Someone will disrespect him. Someone he cares about will disappoint him. He will face rejection. He will become jealous. He will feel ignored. He will lose something important. He will fail after working hard. In those moments, the difference between an immature reaction and a mature response becomes visible. Anyone can remain calm when everything is going according to plan. The real test is who you become when life refuses to cooperate with you. Imagine receiving a message that makes you angry. Your first instinct might be to respond immediately. You want to defend yourself. You want the other person to understand how badly they hurt you. You want to say something powerful enough to make them regret what they did. But pause. That pause is strength. You do not have to obey the first emotion that enters your mind. Anger can tell you that something matters, but anger does not automatically tell you what to do next. Jealousy can reveal insecurity, but jealousy does not give you permission to control another person. Fear can warn you about uncertainty, but fear does not mean you should run away. Sadness can show that you care, but sadness does not mean you are weak. Emotions are information, they are not always instructions. This distinction can completely transform the way a man handles relationships and life. A man who reacts to everything becomes predictable. Push him and he explodes. Ignore him and he becomes desperate. Challenge his ego and he becomes defensive. Give him attention and he becomes attached. Take attention away and he becomes insecure. His emotional state is controlled by external events, but a grounded man creates space between what happens and how he responds. Someone can insult him and he can choose not to become insulting. Someone can reject him and he can accept it without begging. Someone can misunderstand him and he can explain himself without losing control. Someone can leave his life and he can feel the pain without destroying his dignity. That is not weakness. That is mastery. The ability to pause before reacting is one of the simplest practices you can develop. When something triggers you, do not immediately speak. Do not immediately send the message. Do not immediately make the decision. Give yourself a moment. Take a breath. Observe what is happening inside you. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Then ask, why am I feeling this? And finally, what response would represent the man I want to become? Those three questions can prevent countless mistakes, because sometimes the biggest damage in our lives does not come from what happened to us. It comes from how we reacted to what happened. One angry message can destroy years of trust. One impulsive decision can create months of regret. One moment of uncontrolled jealousy can damage a relationship. One emotional outburst can reveal insecurity that you later wish you had handled differently. You cannot always control what people do to you, but you can train yourself to control what you do next. And this is where discipline becomes more powerful than motivation. Motivation may tell you to become calm. Discipline teaches you to practice calmness when you are triggered. Motivation may tell you to control your emotions. Discipline teaches you to pause before speaking. Motivation may tell you to become stronger. Discipline teaches you to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is to become emotionally intelligent. A strong man can say, "That hurt me." A strong man can say, "I was wrong." A strong man can say, "I need some time before I respond." A strong man can apologize without feeling humiliated. A strong man can express love without feeling ashamed of caring. And a strong man can walk away from a situation without needing to destroy the other person. This kind of emotional stability can create a powerful sense of trust in relationships. When people know that your emotions will not suddenly become unpredictable weapons, they feel safer around you. You become someone who can handle difficult conversations without turning every disagreement into a battle. But there is another important lesson here. Do not confuse emotional control with tolerating everything. Being calm does not mean allowing disrespect. Being patient does not mean accepting manipulation. Being understanding does not mean abandoning your boundaries. You can remain calm and still say no. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can love someone and still refuse to participate in unhealthy behavior. Emotional control gives you the ability to make these decisions without being controlled by anger, revenge, fear, or desperation. The strongest response is not always silence. Sometimes the strongest response is an honest conversation. Sometimes it is an apology, sometimes it is a boundary, sometimes it is leaving. The important thing is that your decision comes from awareness rather than emotional impulse. Think about the difference between fire and a controlled flame. Fire without control can destroy everything around it. But when contained and directed, fire can provide warmth, energy, and light. Your emotions are similar. Anger can become destructive, or it can become determination. Fear can paralyze you, or it can make you prepare. Pain can make you bitter, or it can make you wiser. Desire can make you desperate, or it can motivate you to build something meaningful. The emotion itself is not always the enemy. The problem begins when you surrender your steering wheel to it. So train yourself to pause, train yourself to breathe, train yourself to observe, train yourself to think before speaking, train yourself to respond according to your values rather than your temporary emotional state. Because anyone can react, anyone can shout, anyone can send an angry message, anyone can walk away dramatically. But it takes real discipline to remain centered when your emotions are demanding immediate action. And when a man learns to govern himself, he becomes difficult to manipulate, difficult to destabilize, and much harder to break. Not because he feels nothing, but because he feels deeply and still chooses wisely. A man becomes deeply grounded when he has a direction that is larger than the desire to be admired. Many men spend enormous amounts of energy trying to become impressive in the eyes of others, but very little energy becoming meaningful in their own eyes. They chase attention, compare themselves with other men, and constantly wonder whether they are successful enough, attractive enough, or respected enough. But there is a different way to live. Instead of making other people the center of your life, you build a life around purpose, discipline, and personal growth. Purpose does not necessarily mean having some enormous mission that changes the world. Sometimes purpose begins with something simple, becoming responsible for your life, taking care of your health, developing your skills, building a career, supporting your family, learning something difficult, creating something valuable, becoming a person who can be trusted. Purpose is not always dramatic. Often it is built quietly through ordinary responsibilities performed consistently. When a man has no direction, he becomes easily distracted. His attention moves toward whatever gives him the quickest emotional reward. One day he wants to become successful, the next day he wants attention, and the next day he is consumed by someone else's opinion of him. His priorities constantly change because he has not decided what truly matters, but when a man knows what he is building, he becomes different. He can say no, he can delay pleasure, he can tolerate boredom, he can continue working when nobody is praising him. He understands that meaningful results rarely appear immediately. This is where discipline becomes essential. Discipline is not punishment. It is the ability to keep moving towards something important even when your feelings are telling you to stop. There will be mornings when you do not feel motivated. There will be days when your progress seems invisible. There will be moments when someone else appears to be moving ahead of you. There will be setbacks that make you question whether your effort is worth it, but discipline says continue. Not because success is guaranteed, but because the person you are becoming is worth the effort. A man who develops this quality becomes less dependent on external validation. If someone praises him, he appreciates it, but he does not need it to continue. If someone criticizes him, he listens, learns what is useful, and keeps moving. His direction does not change every time someone gives him an opinion. This creates a powerful form of independence. He is not emotionally running after people. He is not abandoning his goals because someone stopped giving him attention. He is not changing his personality to become acceptable to everyone. He has a path. And because he has a path, he has something to return to when life becomes confusing. This does not mean ignoring relationships. A meaningful relationship can become an important part of a man's life. But a relationship should complement your purpose, not replace it. If you make another person the entire center of your existence, you may eventually begin expecting them to provide your identity, confidence, happiness, and sense of worth. That is an enormous burden to place on another human being. Healthy love does not require you to disappear. You should be able to love someone deeply while continuing to develop yourself. Keep learning, keep working, keep training, keep improving, keep building, keep becoming. When you continue growing as an individual, you bring something valuable into a relationship, a whole person rather than an empty person, searching for someone else to complete him. And this is why discipline can become more attractive than superficial displays of confidence. Discipline shows consistency. It shows that your words have weight because your actions support them. If you tell yourself you will wake up early and you repeatedly do it, you build self-trust. If you decide to improve your health and continue despite difficult days, you build self-trust. If you commit to learning a skill and keep practicing when you are frustrated, you build self-trust. Every promise you keep to yourself becomes another brick in the foundation of your character. Eventually, you stop needing to tell people that you are disciplined. Your life demonstrates it. You don't need to announce that you have ambition when your actions show progress. You don't need to tell everyone that you are confident when your decisions show self-respect. You don't need to convince people that you are focused when your consistency makes it obvious. This is the difference between appearance and character. Appearance asks, how do I look? Character asks, who am I when nobody is watching? That question is worth asking every day. Who are you when you are tired? Who are you when nobody rewards you? Who are you when you fail? Who are you when you receive criticism? Who are you when you have the opportunity to take an easy path that violates your principles? Your answers reveal more about you than any achievement ever could. A man with purpose does not need every day to feel exciting. He understands that repetition is part of mastery. The same training, the same work, the same learning, the same discipline, again and again. At first it may feel ordinary, then it becomes habit. Then it becomes character, and eventually it becomes identity. You are no longer trying to become disciplined. You become a disciplined person. You are no longer trying to become focused. You become someone who protects his attention. You are no longer trying to become confident. You become someone who trusts himself. And this transformation changes the way you move through the world. You become less desperate for immediate results because you understand that meaningful growth takes time. You become less concerned about competing with everyone because you have your own path. You become less affected by temporary rejection because you know that one person's decision does not determine your future. Your purpose becomes your anchor. And when a man has an anchor, he does not need every wave to become calm before he can remain steady. Life will still challenge him. People will still disappoint him. Plans will still fail. But he has something inside himself that keeps saying, keep going. That is discipline. That is direction. And that is the kind of inner strength that cannot be created by pretending to be powerful. It is created by living with intention, keeping promises to yourself, and choosing your long-term growth over your short-term comfort day after day, especially on the days when nobody is watching. Self-respect is one of the quietest forms of power a man can develop. It does not require aggression, arrogance, or the constant need to prove that you are stronger than someone else. It begins with a simple understanding. You teach people how to treat you through the standards you are willing to maintain in your own life. When a man knows his values, understands his limits, and has the courage to protect his peace, he becomes less dependent on the approval of others. Many men confuse being a good person with accepting everything. They believe that if they are patient enough, forgiving enough, available enough, and understanding enough, people will eventually appreciate them. But kindness without boundaries can slowly become self-neglect. You can be generous without allowing yourself to be used. You can forgive without reopening the same door. You can love someone without accepting behavior that repeatedly destroys your dignity. A boundary is not a weapon. It is a decision about what you will do when something violates your values. For example, you cannot control whether another person speaks disrespectfully to you. But you can control whether you continue participating in a conversation that has become abusive. You cannot force someone to appreciate your effort. But you can decide how much of your energy you continue giving. You cannot control whether someone chooses to stay in your life, but you can decide whether you will beg them to remain. That difference is powerful. A man with self-respect does not spend his entire life trying to convince someone to value him. He understands that genuine connection cannot be forced. If someone repeatedly shows that they do not respect his presence, he does not need to create a dramatic scene. He can simply step back. Sometimes the strongest sentence is not an angry speech. It is, "This is not acceptable to me." And then your actions support your words. This is where many people struggle. They create boundaries verbally, but abandon them the moment they fear losing someone. They say they will walk away, but when the other person gives them a little attention, they immediately forget everything that happened. They promise themselves that they will not tolerate certain behavior, but loneliness makes them compromise. Self-respect requires consistency. If you constantly abandon your own standards because you're afraid of rejection, you teach yourself that your needs do not matter. But every time you honor a healthy boundary, you send yourself a different message. My peace matters. My time matters. My values matter. My dignity matters. This does not mean becoming cold or unforgiving. In fact, mature boundaries can make relationships healthier because they create clarity. People know what you will accept and what you will not accept. You are not silently collecting resentment while pretending everything is fine. A man without boundaries may say yes while secretly feeling angry. A man with healthy boundaries can say no without hatred. That is emotional maturity. And there is another important distinction. Self-respect is not the same as ego. Ego says, "You cannot disrespect me because I am better than you." Self-respect says, I will not participate in disrespect because that behavior conflicts with my values. Ego wants revenge. Self-respect wants peace. Ego wants to prove a point. Self-respect knows when the point has already been made. Ego needs the last word. Self-respect can leave the conversation. This is why walking away can sometimes be an act of strength. Not every disagreement deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding needs to become a battle. And not every relationship deserves unlimited access to your time, attention, and emotional energy. Sometimes walking away is not about punishing someone. It is about protecting yourself from becoming someone you do not want to be. Imagine being in a relationship where you constantly have to prove your worth. You are always afraid that the other person will leave. You tolerate disrespect because you fear being alone. You constantly check their behavior, analyze their messages, and worry about whether they still care. That is not peace. And when fear becomes the foundation of a relationship, you may begin sacrificing your identity just to preserve the connection. But healthy love should not require you to abandon yourself. You should be able to say, I care about you, but I also care about who I am becoming. You should be able to communicate your needs without manipulation. You should be able to disagree without humiliation. You should be able to give affection without begging for affection in return. You should be able to accept that someone may not choose you and still choose yourself. That last part is especially important. Rejection can hurt deeply. Nobody is immune to it. But rejection does not automatically mean that you are inadequate. Sometimes two people simply want different things. Sometimes timing is wrong. Sometimes compatibility is missing. Sometimes someone chooses another path. You can feel the pain without turning the pain into self-hatred. You can say, I wanted this relationship, but I respect their decision. That is strength. The ability to walk away also means understanding that not every opportunity is a good opportunity. Not every person who gives you attention deserves access to your life. Not every attractive connection is a healthy connection. Not every relationship that feels intense is meaningful. Intensity is not always intimacy. Chemistry is not always compatibility. And attention is not always respect. A mature man learns to look beyond immediate excitement and ask deeper questions. Does this relationship bring peace or constant confusion? Does this person respect my boundaries? Can we communicate honestly? Do our values align? Can we grow together? Do I become a better version of myself around this person? Or do I constantly become anxious, insecure, and reactive? These questions require honesty, because sometimes the person you need to walk away from is not another person. Sometimes it is an old version of yourself, the version that accepted less because it was afraid of being alone, the version that chased approval, the version that tolerated disrespect because it believed loneliness was worse, the version that confused attention with love. Growth means leaving that version behind. And when you develop genuine self-respect, you no longer need to threaten people with your absence. You simply become willing to accept the consequences of your standards. If someone leaves because you communicated a reasonable boundary, it may hurt, but you have learned something valuable. If someone becomes angry because you stopped allowing disrespect, you have learned something valuable. If someone only values you when you are endlessly available, you have learned something valuable. Your goal is not to make everyone stay. Your goal is to become someone who can remain at peace whether they stay or go. That is freedom. Because when you no longer fear losing people more than you fear losing yourself, your relationships change. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop manipulating, you stop performing, you begin choosing. And a man who can choose his values over temporary approval becomes difficult to control, not because he is harsh, but because he knows where he stands. He understands that love without respect becomes painful, confidence without boundaries becomes fragile, and kindness without self-respect can become self-abandonment. So protect your peace, honor your values, speak clearly, give people opportunities to understand you. Forgive when forgiveness is appropriate. But never make the mistake of believing that keeping someone in your life is always more important than keeping your integrity intact. Sometimes the most powerful way to say, I respect you, is to also be able to say, and I respect myself. Maybe the greatest lesson is this: the most attractive quality in a man is not the image he creates for the world, but the character he builds when nobody is watching. You do not become powerful by making everyone fear you. You become powerful by learning to govern yourself. You do not become confident by convincing everyone that you are valuable. You become confident by knowing your value without demanding constant proof. You do not become emotionally strong by hiding your feelings. You become strong by feeling them deeply and still choosing your response wisely. And you do not earn respect by demanding it. You earn it by living with discipline, purpose, boundaries, and self-respect. So stop asking, how can I make someone attracted to me? Start asking, how can I become a man I genuinely respect? Build your body, but also build your mind. Build your career, but also build your character. Protect your goals, but also protect your peace. Love deeply, but never lose yourself in the process. And remember, you cannot control who chooses you. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control everyone's opinion of you, but you can control the man you become. That is where your real power begins. And perhaps one day you will realize that you were never supposed to spend your life chasing attention. You were supposed to become so grounded, so disciplined, so emotionally mature, and so secure within yourself that your presence speaks before you ever say a word. So if you remember only one thing from this entire message, remember this: do not spend your life trying to become attractive to everyone. Spend your life becoming undeniable to yourself. Because when you master yourself, you change the way you walk. You change the way you speak. You change the way you love. You change the way you handle rejection. And eventually, you change the entire direction of your life. The journey begins the moment you stop chasing validation and start building character. If this message gave you something to think about, don't let it end here. Take one lesson from today and practice it in your real life. Choose discipline when comfort is easier. Choose calmness when anger is tempting. Choose purpose when distraction calls. Choose self-respect when desperation tells you to chase. And if you believe that becoming a stronger, wiser, and more disciplined man is a journey worth taking, stay connected with this channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And thank you for being part of this community. Until the next video, keep your mind strong, keep your purpose clear, protect your peace, and most importantly, keep becoming the person you were capable of becoming all along.